Hi guys, this is Dale from Pedal Pros. This will be a short video to show you the basic installation process of a pedals only kit in a typical vehicle. In this case, a Pontiac sedan. First of all, let me show you what the kit looks like fully installed in that sedan I was talking about so you can see what it looks like. Right side base assembly bolted in place. Plenty of floor space. Easy access. Accelerator pedal, brake pedal, and this is what it looks like on the other side. Accelerator pedal, brake pedal. Okay, the first thing you'll want to do is just put the assemblies in the respective sides, the right side and the left hand side, and just make sure they fit. Make sure you got the correct parts. So set the right side base on the floor, up underneath the glove box door area, push forward just about as far as it'll go. Just make sure you have enough room for the accelerator pedal to move, enough room for your foot to go in place, a little bit of room on the right hand side, a little bit of room on the left hand side so the linkages can work free. On the left hand side, same thing, set the left hand base assembly in place. Now what you're looking for is the bearing on the accelerator linkage to just about center the accelerator pedal, and the higher up on the pedal basically the better, and still have room for the kit to fit in place. If necessary, parts can be trimmed, especially on the left hand side. If there are bumps or humps or the left hand footrest comes out further, everything from the from about here over can be removed if necessary. 90% of the time it's not required though. So basically, as long as it fits in place, basically parallel to the front of the vehicle and the bearing about centers the pedal, everything is good. Just a little side note before we get started, basic hand tools and drills is all that's required to install a kit, but if you have access to an angle drill, it can sometimes be a lifesaver and just make things easier to do, because my kit's tucked under pretty good up underneath the dash, and when you got a drill on the standard drill, it tends to be a little tight. Not saying it can't be done, but an angle drill makes life easier. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to recommend that you pull the carpet up and take a peek. Pull this trim off, pull the carpet up, take a peek underneath the general area where the kit's going to be installed, right and left sides both. Make sure there's no wiring harnesses underneath there. So once you've got the kit set in place, again, the basic flat area of the floor, you're going to want to slide it forward as far as possible in the flat area. Watch, make sure you don't have a vehicle that has a large front wheel well right here that will stop the travel of the accelerator pedal too early. Most of the time I'll justify the kits to the left hand side pretty much as far as the floor will allow, and that maximizes your right side floor foot space when you're operating the pedals. Now that you've got the basic place that you'd like to put the kit, the next thing I like to do is get underneath the vehicle and just kind of feel around and look around and make sure in this area, you know, what I've got to contend with. In this particular vehicle, I've got a body mount up here, a frame rail through the middle, and then some other stuff on the outside, which is the transmission hump. The kits come with the outside positions already drilled in the corners, just because after tons of installs I've found that these positions tend to be a good starting place and tend to be open. On this particular vehicle, I started with this position, drilled through the floor after I made sure there was nothing underneath it with a small drill, but like an 1/8 inch. This is a little tough to show without the vehicle being on a lift, but you'll get the basic idea. So this was our first mounting position that came through the floor, found out that was wide open. I measured forward, and to stay out of drilling through this big old honking piece here, I measured forward and transferred that to the base on the top and drilled me a new mounting hole. And on the inside ones, went to the other side of the frame area, but inside of the other part there to find me a couple of open areas, and just measured across and up, and then again transferred those mounting positions to the base. And here we are up top again. As you can see, this is where that mounting position was. The mounting position I started with was up here, but I didn't want to go through that big thick area, so I just re-drilled a new one there, measured across, and one there, and one up in the front. Now, on vehicles that I have completed the install in and have the reference information, the bases, both right and left, will come with recommended mounting positions already drilled and identified in them for you. Again, just be sure and check and make sure they're clear, because I can't necessarily work on every vehicle with every option level, like especially large SUVs and vans that have rear air conditioning. Watch out for those air conditioning lines. Okay, once you've identified your mounting positions and have drilled the new holes in the base, transferred them to the floor, drilled through the floor with up to a 1/2 inch diameter bolt is the biggest you'll need to go, because these are 3/8 bolts that are going down through. Bolt the kit down to the floor. You will be using 3/8 carriage bolts. Goes down through the floor. On the bottom, I've got extra thick fender washers that will not cup, that you back it up with underneath the floor and bolt it all down with. Takes a 9/16 wrench. Some bolts will can come up from the bottom up. That's okay if you've got some obstructions on the underside and it's really tight. You can come from the bottom up. I recommend getting an extra flat washer to add to the head to help back up the head, make it just a little bit wider, and then come from the bottom up and put everything else on top. That's perfectly acceptable. The left hand side is the same situation, only you got to be a little bit more pickier with your mounting positions. Again, key thing is to get that bearing centered on the accelerator pedal, and with the kit just lying here on the floor, you'll probably want to have just a little bit of space in between the bearing and the accelerator pedal itself to take up for the compression of the carpet and padding when it's pulled down. On this particular vehicle, again, the outside positions were wide open, so that's where we started, measured across, and found out I could put another one over here, you can't see it, and then another one down in the back. And that cleared the brake assembly and the accelerator assembly and gave me good mounting positions. Like to have 4 mounting positions per side with an absolute minimum of 3 mounting positions per side. After you get the left hand side bolted down and pulled down into the carpet, you'll want to check again and make sure that the accelerator pedal is not binding or holding the pedal down when it's in its just mounted position. There'll be a locking bracket on this that comes assembled on the kit for the proper positioning when it's just set into place. It's not on here right now. The next step is to go ahead and get the cables and route them in from the backside underneath the seats, the accelerator and the brake, and they will loop around the back. Now this is an extra long set of cables that I've used just so it's easy to see how they loop around the back. Most vehicles will have a shorter set of cables. The cables will tuck down right against the floor or closer to the floor anyway. Back to the right hand side again. We've ran the cables underneath the seats. Okay, I have the cables loosely mounted into their supports and attached to the arms. That's all we have to do for the moment. On the left hand side, go ahead and just remove the accelerator linkage when you're making the connection to the cable. It makes it a lot easier. There we have the linkage connected. Same with the brake. Go ahead and do it while it's all loose. Slide it in there, and then go ahead and run the accelerator back up into place. Alright, getting the proper adjustment for the cable is real simple. With both nuts loose, you'll be able to move the housing in and out. If you move it in, it gets slack on it. If you pull it out, it starts to actually push on the accelerator pedal. So the proper adjustment is to take the slack out of it and tighten it up right there. On the brake, all we're going to do is put the housing about in the middle of the threaded area, and this will be a temporary starting point. Just tighten the nuts up right there. Alright, get your all thread with the heim joints on each end. Attach one to the front with the clevis pin. Make sure the brake arm is pulled all the way back toward the seat. In other words, the cable extended. Match your Heim joint up to the hole in the thing. Yours will be too long. I always send them out too long. You'll have to cut it back and cut it back whatever amount it needs to line up with the hole. Once you have cut the all thread, go ahead and attach the Heim joint to it with the bolt provided. Make sure there are 2 of these 12mm flat washers on each side of the Heim joint to give room for it to pivot. Tighten it up tight. Lock down your jam nuts against the Heim joints on each end with about them in the middle. And if you need to do any fine adjustment, now you can do it down here at the bottom. Just take these nuts back loose and adjust it the same way you did the accelerator. If you pull on it too much or to put the brakes on, you just want to take the free play out of it and tighten the nuts down. Okay, back over to the left-hand side. Here you need to tighten up the nuts on the housings for the cables. With them loose in their thing, when you move them back and forth, it doesn't change anything on the left-hand side. It just moves the pedals around front to back. This prototype set of cables doesn't have very large threaded areas. Yours will have more threaded areas for more movement. So just initially put the pedals wherever you think you might want to start out. Whatever looks best or feels best. Give it a test drive after you've tightened up the nuts, and then you can make some adjustments after that. Again, adjusting this side only moves the pedals, does not have any effect on the left-hand side. Okay, with the cables all on and tightened up, you'll want to do a quick check of travel. Just make sure the pedals work good. The most key thing you're looking for first is when you're operating the accelerator pedal, that under no circumstances can that bearing come off the bottom of the pedal during full throttle. So go to full throttle and you should have plenty of clearance at the bottom, but pedals come in all shapes and sizes and travels. Some are closer to the bottom than others. If you run into a situation where it comes off or it looks like it's too close to the bottom, it might be necessary to shim the base up and the front. Just take the bolts loose, put some thick washers or metal stock in the front of the base to shift it upward a little bit, and try it again. Alright, last thing before you road test it, go ahead and start the vehicle. Make sure the idle is normal. Test the pedals again just a little bit. Brake, accelerator. Make sure nothing hangs, is sticking, everything works free, which it should be. And you're ready to test drive the vehicle on the road. Okay, that was a pretty quick but thorough overview of a pedals only install. Always follow the written instructions that come in the kit. And if you have any questions at all, give me a ring. This is Dale with Pedal Pros. Thank you for considering our product.